I decided to do the Meyer versus State of Nebraska case, which occurred in 1923, and concerning the historical time period during this time, the 20s, which was the time it occurred, was commonly called the Roaring Twenties, which was an age of dramatic political and social change. And I also believe that this case is one of the many that has affected education concerning the rights we have as U.S. citizens. And the quote that I chose that I believe was most relevant and impacted me the most as I was learning about the case states that the problem for a determination is whether the statute, as construed and applied, unreasonably infringes the liberty guaranteed to the plaintiff in error by the 14th Amendment. No state shall deprive any person of life, liberty, or prosperity without due process of law, which was stated by Justice James C. McReynolds. And the reason why I believe this quote was so relevant to the case is that I believe it directs the audience to the main question that the whole case is about, which is whether or not teaching or learning a foreign language is one of the liberties that we as citizens possess based on the 14th Amendment. And then kind of taking a look at the events that summarize the whole case, starting with the main cause of the whole case is that Robert T. Meyer, who we can see right here, he taught the subject of reading in the German language to Raymond Parpart, who is a 10-year-old child who had not yet successfully passed the 8th grade. And according to the state of Nebraska, this was not legal, which was based off of a law that was established in 1919 that basically stated teaching in any other language than English to a student who had not yet successfully passed the 8th grade. They stated that this was illegal, and they believed that it wasn't teaching their students how to be proud Americans, is basically what it was saying. And after this had taken place, Meyer was tried and convicted in the district court for Hamilton County, Nebraska, for violating this state statute. And basically, Nebraska believed that this law was a practice of police power. And then after this took place, it was brought to the Supreme Court, and where the Supreme Court of the state affirmed the judgment of conviction, and then Myers didn't like this, and so he appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, which invalidated the statute as applied. And then this led to the Supreme Court contemplating whether or not teaching or learning a foreign language was one of the liberties that U.S. citizens possessed based on the 14th Amendment, which was basically the biggest focus debate of the whole case. And then, during all the action going on, Justice Holmes stated that a statute directed solely at the German language was unconstitutional, which I believe is a very good supportive statement that was made by Justice Holmes because of the fact that this specific case was segregating the German language culture. And then the final results, which was the final decision after all the debating going on, was that the U.S. Supreme Court held in a 7-2 decision that the 1919 Nebraska law prohibiting the teaching of foreign languages to school children before high school violated the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. So they basically put that Nebraska law out of position, and they said that it was violating the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. And then some final thoughts on this case. The significance that it has. I found that the Meyer case, along with Pierce versus Society of Sisters, which occurred in 1925, is often cited as one of the first instances in which the U.S. Supreme Court engaged in substantive due process in the area of civil liberties. And then the final decision of this case also had a huge effect on the civil rights movement that was going on during this time. So basically concerning the civil rights, which the big topic of whether or not colored people were allowed to do the same thing as white people. So it kind of gave them more of a voice in the rights that they had as U.S. citizens. And then the impact that it has on ELLs, I believe, is kind of like what I stated before. It gives students as well as teachers more of a right to incorporate different cultures into the classroom, which I believe benefits the overall cultural diversity that is present in the classroom. And I also believe that being able to teach in different languages other than English encourages ELL programs such as dual language program. And the Meyer case also had a big effect on whether or not all the different ELL programs that exist today even exist. Because if we weren't allowed to teach in different languages, then dual language programs would not be able to exist at all. So, and then the last thought is I believe being able to teach ELLs in their native language as well as English encourages their learning as well as helps them to be proud of their culture, which I believe is very important to each individual who comes in the classroom to be able to be proud of who they are and where they came from. And then here's a little video that I found where kids are talking about why they would like to learn different languages and how important it is to them to know more than one language, which I believe shows the importance of incorporating different languages into the teaching environment and the impact that it has on students. And so, yeah. And then there is my We're Excited.